But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
You should not listen to men's rights advocates if you want to know what they have to say.
Hello, everybody. We are live.
Hello and welcome to the People's Republic of Badgeria. I am your El Presidente for life, Alison Tiemann, and with me today is my Minister of Subjugation and Puppers, Brian Martinez, and the Chief Minister of the Ministry of Love, Karen Strawn.
What? Why do we get that sucky title? Ministry of Love? Fuck you, Alison. Unless it's opposite day. If it's opposite day, then I'm totally on board.
Well, there you go. That's why she's the Minister of Love. Okay, on March 18th, 2020, the governments of the United States and Canada announced a full closure of the Canadian-US border to non-essential travel, meaning I'm not alone anymore. With the closure of the US-Canada border, the Western world is now in total lockdown. This comes after the stock market has seen record losses and then gains and then losses over the last 4 weeks now, sparked by the COVID-19 pandemic crisis and worsened by the price war between Saudi Arabia and Russia over oil. We are in unprecedented times, unless you want to count the fall of the Bronze Age, but let's not go there yet. These are uncertain times, and uncertain times are scary times, but there is one thing I know. Human beings are resilient. We reinvent ourselves and become whatever is needed to overcome a crisis. We did it when Africa turned into a dust bowl. We did it when the glaciers advanced, and we did it when Ungrit burned and when Rome fell. The question then becomes how? How do we change? What sparks it? What guides it? That's the question I've always asked, and I invite you to ask it along with me during these very interesting times. Okay, so today we have a special cozy stream. We're bringing Karen on with her encyclopedic knowledge of information to discuss the controversy over the coronavirus deaths. And I know this is a bit of a stressful topic. So after we finish the discussion, and I'm going to open the floor also to our patrons on the Discord to come in and chime in with their 2 cents and what they think is going on. But after we finish the discussion, we'll go and do some cozy stream activities. We'll look at some memes. We'll look at some puppers and kitties and have a laugh. But I think this discussion is important to have it. And because we're going to acknowledge the bad news and get to the fun part, which is grinding and getting good. And in particular, I think this is important to have this conversation respectfully, because regardless of what's going down, if we're going to get through this with some semblance of a society intact, we need to respect each other regardless of our opinions. So I want to have a discussion of the available evidence, a respectful discussion of the available evidence. I don't have a strong opinion. I am neutral. Tell my husband I said hello. So I want to remain neutral because I think it's really critical that we remember that stressful times cause significant fractures in people's sense of community, and that itself is the real risk, regardless of the deadliness of the virus. So let's begin. Once again, if after the patron discussion, after our discussion, if you are a patron, give me a ping in the Discord, in the patron Discord, and we'll bring you on to have your 2 cents as well. And one final bit of business, we are offering a public square area to the public. So for anybody who isn't a paid patron, we do have a public area in our Discord now. If you would like to join us in the Discord, in our public area, then please go to the low bar of this video and click the link to that. It's in the low bar, right, Brian?
Yeah, all that stuff's in
Okay,
the description. Yeah.
And if you want to support the show, of course, feedthebadger.com.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get a subscription, then you get to access the paid areas of the Discord. All right, Brian. So, well, actually, no, it's not Brian. It's Karen.
Yeah.
What?
Well, you know what? Let me ask you this before I'll help set up what we're going to talk about. I've been getting a lot of messages on Skype from Dave Cullen, who's had a lot
Okay.
of criticisms and critiques of like the info that we've been getting around surrounding the beer bug in terms of deaths, in terms of how these things are counted, and so on. Is that the thing that you wanted to talk about? Is that sort of like what you're interested in with regards to this?
No. I think that kind of thing is going to be six of one, half a dozen of the other. I mean, like Robert Redfield testified before Congress, right? He's the head of the CDC, and he said, yes, there were people who died of pneumonia. And then when we tested them posthumously, they tested positive for COVID-19. So we know that they died from COVID-19 caused pneumonia, but they were not recorded as COVID-19 deaths, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you have the entire flip side in Italy, where it's like, I mean, I'm gonna do a reductio ad absurdum here, but say you go into a clinic, you walk into a clinic to take a 15-minute COVID-19 test, you test positive, you walk out, you get hit by a bus, you die of head trauma, you're listed as a COVID-19 death because
That's
you
right.
died with the virus, right?
Yep.
So, like there is an issue on both sides of it. There are undetected deaths and there are over detected deaths.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, like when you look at, because the case fatality rate, uh, just among human beings in general, like if we were all just homogenous globally, right? And you had a case fatality risk that was, like if you're a human being, you are X likely to die of this, right? That would actually be pretty uniform, across, I guess, depending on the healthcare and the availability of ventilators and things like that,
Yeah.
right? But you're looking at a situation where, the case fatality rate is probably going to be pretty uniform between Western countries, and you're looking at Italy had 10 times the case fatality rate of any other country, and they were just like, okay, so how is this happening? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't mean that the case fatality rate among Germany and Austria and the United States and China is anywhere near accurate either, right? Like we probably won't know for at least another 10 years how many people actually died from this disease,
Yeah.
right? Like it was 10 years after the H1N1 swine flu before people started actually being able to uh, reconstruct everything and make reasonable estimates of how many people actually were infected and how many people died. And a lot of that has to do with, if you're fucking with the numerator, that's bad enough. Like Italy was fucking with the numerator. But if your denominator is based on only testing the people who show severe symptoms, right? You could literally be like, "Oh, only 10% of the population were infected when
Right.
70% were." Right? So I mean like this is all freaking uh in the moment information, like to say that, oh, these models are bullshit, blah blah blah. No, they're not bullshit. Um they're just based on assumptions that are based on what we know right now, and that changes day to day. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Isn't
yeah.
there also I heard this yesterday or this morning, I can't remember. I was talking to Lindsay about it. I heard somewhere someone was saying that we are like that something about how there's either a staggeringly low number or no um flu deaths being recorded. So like every
Oh,
year we have deaths from the flu. You know
no, no,
that
no, no.
no.
No, no. It's a low number of flu deaths, right?
Yeah.
But okay, there is a low number of deaths from the flu, and there is a low number of deaths from uh conventional pneumonia. So bacterial
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm
bacterial
talking about
pneumonia.
as compared to previous years, not like in general.
Yes.
Yes, right.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So it's lower than in previous years, maybe the past 5 years. But okay, if you are not touching anyone or anything and never leaving your house to avoid COVID-19, you're also going to avoid the colds and the flus that lead to those flu deaths. And also, colds and flus often lead to a secondary bacterial pneumonia infection. And so, if you're not catching COVID-19, you're also not catching colds and flus,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So you're going to see a drop just because of the measures that were put in place, right? So you're looking at the White House. They came down with their guidelines for social distancing and hand washing and don't touch your face and maybe wear a mask and gloves and things like that, right? They came out with those on like March 8th, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was in late February that some asshole bought up 17,000 units of Purell hand sanitizer and started to sell them for $85 a piece on Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you were actually looking at individuals already before the White House came out and said, yeah, you should be doing these things. There were individuals already doing these things, right? And we know this from Italy because Italy, there thousands over the month of January, thousands of foreign workers from Wuhan, China, arrived in northern Italy to work in textile factories and stuff like that. And the mayor of Florence was like, oh, people are keeping their distance from Chinese people that they don't know. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
this is totally different from like the Chinese family who runs my local Chinese restaurant and the Chinese family who runs my local dollar store. Right. Um, where I know that they're not like freshly arrived from China. Right. Okay, these are Chinese people that people don't know. They were keeping their distance and all of that. And then on February 2nd, he decided that, that's racism. And so we should promote Hug a Chinese Day on social media. And then Northern Italy became essentially one of the hotbeds, where they were actually rationing ventilators. They were
Yeah.
having to choose who gets a ventilator and who doesn't. Um, using triage techniques, right? So it's like, but when you look at it, there were people who were already taking measures um mid-February, right? And
Right.
then the White House came out and said, okay, here's the measures we want you to take. It's already the measures that like at least 30% of Americans are already taking. So,
I see.
So
oh
in
well, my
conclusion, that
husband's
means that
my
means that the flu
husband's
deaths are likely reduced as well.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Flu infections, cold infections, and the pneumonia cases that occur from them. I mean, my mom had a friend who was a heavy smoker, and she used to get furious with her husband because, oh, he brought home a cold, and now I have pneumonia, right? Because every time she got a cold, she ended up with pneumonia, and it's like, um, yeah, that's what happens. You end up with bronchitis or pneumonia because you have these risk factors, and you're old and you don't have a good diet and you don't take care of yourself and you don't take vitamins and you don't, you know, and you smoke a pack and a half a day, right? Yeah, when your husband comes home with a common cold, you end up with bronchitis or pneumonia. And so it's like those like the number of deaths that are actually can be attributed, the primary cause, right, is you got a cold or you got the flu and then it advanced into a secondary bacterial or fungal lung infection because your immune system was compromised by fighting off this virus, right? And then you got sick and you had other things, right? Like when you're looking at that, um, there's tons and tons of those kinds of deaths that are being avoided by the measures that we put in place to avoid contracting COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's getting colds, nobody's getting the flu, and
That's
nobody's dying of a secondary pneumonia infection as a result of that. So
yeah, I guess part of the controversy, I guess, is there's an underlying political schism. Some people are really concerned about the economic effects of this virus, whereas others are much more concerned about the fact that it's a disease, and the potential contagion.
what
And
what I find really interesting though is that, okay, so you had Governor Cuomo of New York State and Mayor de Blasio of New York City, right? They were encouraging people in late February all the way up to March 11th. March 11th, Mayor de Blasio said at a press conference, this 3 days after the White House came out with their guidelines, like don't go to big events, don't, try to get takeout, don't eat out, social distance, stay at home, work from home if you can, blah, blah, blah. Maybe consider closing the schools, all of that stuff, right? De Blasio was saying, yeah, no, if you're not sick, you should be going about life as usual. And Cuomo was essentially, and the state public health chief officer, I guess the in Canada we'd call it a minister, but it's the head person in charge of the state's public health department, was saying, uh, our restaurants and our bars are, and this is like what I was getting at before. People were already taking measures on an individual basis. They were going out less. They were avoiding going to movie theaters, restaurants, bars, festivals, parades, all of those things. And all of these officials in New York State, New York City were saying there's no reason to avoid going to the Pride Parade. There's no reason to avoid going to the Lunar New Year festival in our various Chinatowns, in our various boroughs, right? There's no reason, unless you're sick, you should be going, because our restaurants and our bars and our communities are suffering an economic cost, right? Restaurants are sitting empty because people are staying home. So, hey, you're not in danger. Go out and do your thing. And then it's Trump who's the one who put the economy before human life.
yeah, I know everybody's gonna. It's Rorschach
Rorschach.
test.
Rorschach
test. Everybody sees whatever politics they want to see in it.
It's bizarre, like Trump cut off travel on the 31st, right? That was okay. He started the coronavirus task force, the White House task force, on the 29th of January. And on the 30th of January, the World Health Organization finally declared a public health emergency of international concern in Wuhan. So it was localized to Wuhan, and it was just putting other countries on notice. Hey, other countries, you might want to keep an eye on this. Okay. Then on the 31st, right, the day after that, Trump closed the border, shut off travel from China, right? And that same day, Joe Biden he tweeted, "This is no time for Trump's record of hysterical xenophobia." He repeated that over the next week or two in town halls and rallies and stuff like that. And people were really criticizing him for that. The World Health Organization on the 31st praised Canada for not closing the borders to China, like not shutting off travel from China. They praised us for that. They praised us for not implementing screening measures. They said, like this is nothing to really worry about, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't until March, 11th or 12th that the World Health Organization said, "Oh, okay, that we can call this a pandemic now."
Yeah, and no matter what a person no matter what Trump does,
Oh, it's wrong. No matter what he does, it's wrong. If he cured cancer, they'd criticize him for putting oncologists out of work.
Right.
Yeah. No, I
So,
mean, I can recognize that. It makes it very difficult to trust certain news resources for
mhm.
a lot of things, and it also conversely makes it difficult to criticize Trump for legitimate issues, because
Yes.
then
Well,
you
they get
get lumped
lost
in.
in the they get lost in
They
the
get lost in this
miasma.
nonsense.
Yeah, for sure.
In
Right.
the mound of bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt. So we have a couple articles that we could look at.
Okay.
And so do you need me? You still need me to do the
It depends. Like if I think that if you want us all to be able to look at them at the same time, you'll probably have to share it. Otherwise, I'll have to relay, because I do have them up as well. And I could just read through the articles. If you tell me which one we're looking at, we'll just try to stay on the same page together. So I can do it that way too.
Yeah, why don't we do it that way? Because I'm not.
It's a little less
I'm
confusing.
yeah, it's a little less confusing if we
Okay.
keep you as the central control tower of all the articles. So let's look at the Gateway Pundit. Huge.
Yep, got it right
I'm
here.
guessing that's meant to be. It's meant to
Huge.
be. Yes, MM's.
Yeah,
you can read it.
Minnesota, huge. Minnesota senator and doctor. Hospitals get paid more to list patients as COVID-19, and 3 times as much if the patient goes on ventilator. And apparently there's some video evidence for this as well. I'll just read the summarization. We don't really need to watch the video. But you guys can check out the links. I'll add sources to the description.
Yeah, it's Fox News though, right? So
no, it's something called oh, you mean the video link is from Fox?
Yeah. Yeah, it's Fox News. So it's just state-run media, right? Like, so
Yeah.
you can't trust it. Can't trust it.
All right.
I'm sorry.
I think you can't trust anything, really.
Oh, no, the most trustworthy source is Fox News. Those are the only people that I've seen actually have a broad range of views in terms of
they do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. That I think Karen was being sarcastic. That we don't have state-run media technically, although many argue that CNN is basically the BBC for the U.S.
Yeah, but if all of the left wing, like MSNBC, CNN, CBS, ABC, NBC, all of them call Fox state-run media. They're carrying water for the president, and I just don't see it. Like, I see that I see the president getting criticized all the time on Fox. I see the GOP getting criticized all the time on Fox, particularly certain members of the GOP that, like that guy who sold, essentially he liquidated his entire net worth in stock the day that he was briefed on how serious the corona. He was part of the Intelligence Committee, the Senate Intelligence Committee, and he was briefed on the coronavirus, and then he got on the phone and yelled, "Sell everything!" And and he dumped all of his freaking stocks and turned them into cash. And it's like, he's come under heavy fire. This guy, what's his name? Richard Burr. Yeah.
I'm being told, Alison, that your audio is low. It doesn't sound that bad to me, but maybe you're just lower than Karen.
It doesn't sound bad to me. I might be just
I have you turned up all the way on my end though. So all right.
How is this? Is this a bit better?
Yeah, you are low actually.
You are kind of low.
Jeez,
Is it using the right microphone?
I'm pretty sure I am. Oh, let me just double check that. If that's the case, then we've solved it.
Yeah, you're really low. Now that I'm really paying attention.
Let me just make sure. No, the input is the Yeti microphone. So
I don't know.
Up the gain.
Yeah, turn your gain up.
I've turned it up all the way it can go, I think.
Oh, then get in there, get closer, get up on it.
Okay, let me.
As Joe Rogan says, like get really. Don't be shy.
How is that? Is that changed?
That's a lot better. Yes, that's way better. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so article. Last night, Senator Dr. Scott Jensen from Minnesota went on the Ingram angle to discuss how the AMA, the American Medical Association, is encouraging American doctors to overcount coronavirus deaths across the US. This was after Dr. Scott Jensen, a Minnesota physician and Republican state senator, told a local station he received a 7-page document coaching him to fill out death certificates with a COVID-19 diagnosis without a lab test to confirm the patient actually had the virus. Dr. Jensen also disclosed that hospitals are paid more if they list patients with a COVID-19 diagnosis. And hospitals get paid 3 times as much if the patient then goes on a ventilator. Then we'll go to the quote, I guess. This is a quote from Senator Dr. Scott Jensen. Right now, Medicare is determining that if you have a COVID-19 admission to the hospital, you get $13,000. If that COVID-19 patient goes on a ventilator, you get $39,000, 3 times as much. Nobody can tell me after 35 years in the world of medicine that sometimes those kinds of things impact on what we do. So Medicare, by the way, is like a public. It's like the publicly funded sort of you say wing of medical care. I was on Medicare for my cancer stuff because since my only job was working here at HBR, I didn't have insurance. So they helped me out with that. But yeah, so this is basically redirecting public funds to hospitals via Medicare. If this is accurate, if this is true. But that's the first story. That's basically the end of that.
Yeah, no, this is really, really bad. Because, honestly, initially there were deaths in January and February that posthumously tested positive. They were attributed to the common flu, and the seasonal flu, and then tested positively posthumously for COVID-19. So you're looking at a situation where now we're just like, okay, everybody's up in arms about COVID-19, and there's $2.2 trillion worth of funding for COVID-19,
Mm-hmm.
right? Specifically. And, it kind of, even some of the things that, uh, if you, okay, so my man, he has an autoimmune disorder, and it was so bad at one point about 8 years ago that we were looking into getting him a disability pension. Like, we were thinking he was never going to be able to actually work a normal job ever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got on a drug regimen, off label, by the way, that essentially reduced all of his symptoms down to a manageable level, right? Or made them disappear, right? So we had this situation. Now, if he suddenly got sick with influenza A, right? He would not be eligible, because right now he's working. He cannot get regular unemployment insurance benefits. So if he's laid off or fired, he can't get fired without cause. He can't get benefits. He can't get anything from unemployment insurance. But if he tested positive for COVID-19 and he was lost his job because he was positive with COVID-19, he would be eligible as an independent contractor who's not normally eligible for regular benefits. He'd be eligible for special COVID-19 benefits. Like, this is really the danger of essentially saying, okay, well, you're only going to get this money if you can say it's COVID-19.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, that invites a whole shit ton of problems.
Yeah.
And it's not really. I mean, I'm not very surprised by this. But yeah,
I don't think any of this really had, like, none of this would have been the case until that $2.2 trillion bill was passed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, you wouldn't have seen this kind of, like, oh yeah, if they're drowning in their own phlegm, mark them down as COVID-19, no test necessary, right?
Yeah.
Because we'll get the extra funding, right? So they set up a situation. I mean, there are a whole bunch of things wrong with that bill, the relief bill. including, some people are actually going to be making more on unemployment than they would have been making working. And so they have an incentive to not work. Uh, you're sort of looking at, it was rushed. It was, like everybody was, it was a state of emergency, and they were like, okay, so let's just get it passed, and then we'll fix the problems later. We'll pass another bill to fix the problems that arise, right? And this is one of those problems that hospitals actually get. Uh, they get a revenue stream, a guaranteed revenue stream, if they say this is a COVID-19 patient.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a real disaster. And you can maybe even set aside malice, just um the mess, dealing with the mess, creating these sweeping situations and that
Hmm.
create additional problems. So for example, the Canadian government is giving out loans to small businesses, but there's certain qualifications you have to have. I don't know if you've looked into that, Karen. For small businesses and sole proprietorships, that might be of interest to you and to Mike. Have you looked into that at all?
No, because Mike's job is very secure. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't really make any money on what I do now. There was a time when I was bringing in a significant amount of income, but at this point, it's like, no, I essentially most of my time is spent talking to virgin bums on virgin seats for free, rather than preaching to my subscribers, who already know pretty much everything that there is to know about the gender issues and stuff like that. So it's like I really don't make any money, and his job is extremely secure right now. So
Yeah. Well, I've looked into it for obvious reasons.
yeah.
Um, and there's like a technicality because we're an online run business. Most of my expenses go through a credit card, and I've let my day-to-day account lapse
Your
for
checking
CIBC.
account? Yeah.
Yeah, the business checking account.
Yeah.
And because of that, I may not be eligible for the loan that gets given out to small businesses for a technicality, even though I am a small business doing business in Canada. I just don't have a day-to-day checking account with the CIBC, even though I do have actual business accounts with them, just not that one.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's yeah, that's
Yeah,
nice.
it's
But
great. But like, I mean, and it's the weirdest thing too, because like I spent half an hour, 45 minutes on the phone with a Service Canada worker trying to find out whether Mike could purchase individual employment insurance, pay individual premiums as a corporation,
mhm.
and then be eligible for regular benefits. And I'd like poked around for 3 hours on the website, and I could not find a clear answer to that. I could find out that he was eligible for parental benefits, or if he had an elderly relative that he needed to take time off of work to look after, right? He could get those benefits, special benefits, but there wasn't even anything on the website that said, yes, you can't get regular benefits as an independent contractor. And so I get on the phone with the Service Canada guy, and he says, well, I'm not really sure, right? I'm just the general information guy for like dozens of federal programs. I'm not, you're going to have to talk to somebody from employment insurance. I can give you the number. And I said, oh, and he says, where are you? And I said, in Alberta. And he said, oh shit. He literally said, oh shit. Okay. You know why?
Why?
Because the phone lines open. The phone lines are open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Okay, to talk to a real person at EI Eastern time. But okay, you would think that I would then be able in Mountain time to be able to phone at 6 a.m. and be connected. But no, you cannot be connected to even be put on hold until 8 a.m. your time.
Mm-hmm.
So the further west you go, okay, and the further west you go, because hey, those lines open. If you're in British Columbia, those lines open at 9 a.m. or no, wait, 11 a.m. your time. Okay, 8, 11, 3 hours, right? 11 a.m. your time, and close at 5 p.m. Eastern time.
So they open at 11 and close at 2.
Yes.
So you got 3-hour window, and you get
Yeah,
like a 4-hour
and
window in Alberta.
everybody from Newfoundland, Maritimes, Quebec, Ontario, they're all waiting in the queue hours before you were even able to be connected. So you got a few hours and you're sitting there on hold for your truncated day, and then you hear the message, "Thank you for calling. Our lines are closed now. Please try again tomorrow."
Mm. Yeah, I know. It's
Yeah,
exactly the same situation with me in this. Well, it's a similar situation. I'm being
it
screwed by
is.
bureaucracy.
It's completely like the entire way the system is set up is like fucking retarded. But so yeah, no, I totally get it. Totally get it that, and that guy from Service Canada, he was like super, super helpful. I think his name was God, I want to remember. I think his name was Clayton. And he was like really helpful and really cheerful and really nice and really apologetic, and then really understanding of the fact that I, as an Albertan, I had no hope in hell of getting through to an actual person on the EI line.
Yeah. Well,
So
so do we want to go to the next article, which
okay,
is
yeah.
Yeah.
this is from Reuters.com.
Reuters.
Uncounted Reuters.
Reuters. I got it up on the screen here. Uncounted among coronavirus victims, deaths sweep through Italy's nursing homes. This is Milan, as the official death toll from Italy's coronavirus outbreak passes 2,500. A silent surge in fatalities in nursing homes where dozens of patients a day are dying untested for the virus suggests the real total may be higher. Official data shows that nearly 30,000 people have been confirmed as positive for the coronavirus in Italy, the highest number outside China, where the virus first emerged. But strict testing rules mean only patients hospitalized with severe symptoms are normally being swab tested. While no detailed data is available, officials, nurses, and relatives say there has been a spike in nursing home deaths in the worst affected regions of northern Italy since the virus emerged, and they're not showing up in coronavirus statistics. Quote, "There are significant numbers of people who have died, but whose death hasn't been attributed to the coronavirus because they died at home or in a nursing home, and so they weren't swabbed," end quote, said Giorgio Gori, mayor of the town of Bergamo. Gori said that there had been 164 deaths in his town in the first 2 weeks of March this year, of which 31 were attributed to the coronavirus. That compares with 56 deaths over the same period last year. Even adding the 31 coronavirus deaths to that total would leave 77 additional deaths, an increase that suggests the virus may have caused significantly more deaths than officially recorded. Emilio Tanzi, director of Cremona Solidale, a 460-bed residence in the northern town of Cremona, said nursing homes were on the front lines of a crisis that predominantly affected the elderly, who nevertheless have not had adequate support. He said there had been a significant and anomalous increase in deaths since about March 2nd, when the spread of the epidemic began to gather pace in Italy. But there was no way of knowing for sure whether they were due to COVID-19, the disease associated with the coronavirus, he added. Tanzi declined to give full numbers, but said on just one day last week there had been 18 deaths at his facility of patients with respiratory difficulties, symptoms associated with the coronavirus. We don't know if there have been coronavirus deaths because the swabs haven't been done, he said. We've certainly seen high fevers and breathing difficulties. If we'd been in a position to know, we could have isolated those patients properly and avoided the epidemic. Should I keep going? It's kind of a long
Um,
article, so
yeah,
Hmm.
no, I do want
I
to
think we're
say, right?
I think we got the gist of it.
Yeah,
yeah.
Italy has a they have a little of column A and a little of column B problem here because like there was an advisor to the Minister of Health in Italy said that of the deaths that have been attributed to coronavirus in Italy, only 12% of cases was coronavirus the primary or uh, predominantly causal in the death, right? Like so the sole or primary cause of the death, right? So if you died with coronavirus, you were recorded as having died from coronavirus, even if you never had any symptoms of coronavirus, right? But then you have this issue with, and this is the whole reason why testing is so necessary. This is the reason why we need to have broad scale testing, not just for live infections, but also because there appears to be from like the Diamond Princess and other situations where we actually really have a good case study, right? Because you literally have a bunch of people living in close quarters who are not leaving and nobody's coming in, right? It's just a bunch of people on a cruise ship for 2 weeks, where you have a situation where all of the children who got the virus remained asymptomatic. All of the children under 10, the children under 19, most of them had mild symptoms and then recovered. A lot of people had really mild symptoms. There was one guy, I forget, God, what was his name? Carl Groman, right? Who was on the Diamond Princess. He said, he was taken off the Diamond Princess and he's an American, right? And put on a plane and returned to the United States. And during that flight, he had a high fever for about 4 hours. And so he was quarantined and tested, and he tested positive. Um, and he was just like, okay, so all of my other symptoms were just like a mild cold, right? A mild cold that lasted for about 24, 36 hours. I would have gone to work the next day. This is a 60-year-old guy, right? So what we're seeing a lot of undetected cases, right? And a lot of cases also being kind of misattributed, right? So grandma, she's got brain cancer. Everybody, all the doctors, the oncologists say she's got 7 days to live. She tests positive on day 6 for coronavirus. On day 9, she dies. Well, she died from coronavirus, even though she never developed symptoms and she just died from brain cancer. So we got this massive, massive clusterfuck in terms of reporting. Massive,
And I
right? So we
can't see
don't.
how it would be any like how you would not have a sort of a clusterfuck in terms of reporting because this is a novel.
Well, because it's happening in real time too, right?
Exactly.
And like I said, H1N1 swine flu, the true case fatality rate, like people are still adjusting that 10 years later.
Yeah.
People are still saying, yeah, no, it was more like 0.1%, not 10%, you know.
What my concern about all of this is that we might be taking what is in effect human error and the inability to perfectly respond to a
Yeah.
crisis
Yeah, and
in
we're
terms of
we're
testing.
over we're overcompensating and saying, okay, so lock down everything, shred everything.
Well,
And
I'm not even gonna say we're overcompensating. What I'm gonna say is that we're reading political motive into, a lot of what can be ascribed to, I think, human error and or even just human nature. Like the idea that, broad sweeping, uh, what do you call them? Broad sweeping motions or bills pass, which then trickles down into doctors overdiagnosing coronavirus because that's a revenue stream,
Yeah.
and then also missing cases of coronavirus because it happened before all of this happened. And I see this happening with both
Or
sides.
it's happening now, but the people were old,
Yeah,
right?
I see this happening with both sides, reading in a political motive to what is in effect, a tragic situation of confusion and spilled spaghetti, like that, in my opinion. And then
Yeah, no,
in my
and then the
concern,
financial incentives, right? That's not a political motive, on the part of hospitals that might be uh in the US that might be overdiagnosing corona like COVID-19. Um, that's not a political motive. That's a financial motive. And
my,
the financial incentive was not put there for political purposes either. It was based on human error and human uncertainty.
yeah,
So,
and needing to respond to something and not having a perfect response, and that's where what I'm getting at. I think that a
yeah,
lot of this can be attributed to human error, not being able to to respond perfectly to something that's never been seen before.
yeah.
And then we add in another aspect of human nature, which is to read in political malfeasance into all of this confusion and human error. And
Well,
I
I
think,
can I can get into the political malfeasance later. Ask me
mhm.
later
Yeah, well,
to
what we
get
can,
into that.
what my ultimate point is, I think that what would really kill us long term is if what ends up happening is that our natural tendency to like you were talking about, on the left they view Trump and everything he does is wrong, that natural tendency to want to scapegoat, and now combined with a disease, a plague, something that's actually killing people, that we start to fracture even more politically
Yeah,
because
no. What I find the most incredible about this is like he stopped travel from China on the 31st of January, and everybody called him xenophobic and racist and all of that. And then like so Joe Biden was like, hysterical xenophobia, blah, blah, blah. Right. And then like just last week, somebody reached out to his campaign and said, does Joe Biden support the travel ban that Trump, because everybody's now saying Trump didn't act soon enough. He didn't take decisive enough action, right? Even though they were the same people who were criticizing him for doing what he did. And Joe Biden's campaign came back and kind of said, "Oh, no, 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 Joe wasn't talking about the travel ban in particular. He was just talking about Trump's record of scapegoating foreign entities and his record of xenophobia, but he wasn't actually, even though the criticism came out on the same day that the travel ban was announced, there's nothing that can possibly connect Joe Biden's criticisms of Trump to the travel ban itself. No, he's been on board with that from the very beginning. He just never said it. He just never announced that he was, but he's been on board with that since the very start. Because, yeah. Also, why didn't Trump act sooner? And so it's like, it like, I'm sorry, but when you're looking at that and you're thinking, okay, so I'm going to fact check everybody but Trump, because you know who's fact checking Trump? Washington Post is fact checking Trump on the burgers were stacked a mile high. Oh, at
Technically, you
two
can't stack burgers a mile high. You'd need this many burgers to do
te-
that.
technically at 2 inches each, 1,000 burgers would not stack a mile high, right? And so, like, this is the most fact-checked president ever, right? And I'm like, okay, so you know what? If he's lying, if he's got some kind of big lie, right, and the mainstream media isn't like on it like a monkey on a fucking cupcake, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not interested. Okay. I'm not interested in fact checking the president. I'm not interested in fact checking the White House task force, right? What I'm doing is I'm like, okay, Well, how has the media responded to this? All through January and February, any coverage of the virus was called the Chinese virus, the Wuhan virus, right? The Wuhan coronavirus, the Chinese coronavirus. Okay. And then all of a sudden in March, they're like, why are you calling it the Chinese virus, Trump? That's racist, right? These are like like there's a montage of MSNBC, CNN, NBC, like all of these Bloomberg, all of these outlets, right? Where the talking heads are calling it the Chinese virus, the Wuhan virus, blah, 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 right? But then all of a sudden it's like, well, okay, so how can we criticize Trump today? Oh, he's calling it the Chinese virus. So we're going to say that's racist. And I'm just like, I'm like, and then you look at the $2.2 trillion clumsy freaking ham-fisted relief bill.
Mhm.
Okay. And yeah, the Republicans came up with this, and yeah, it was clumsy, ham-fisted, and it contained that fatal error of, yeah, we're going to be paying people more to not work than to work. That's not good, right? Okay. But what happened? Nancy Pelosi comes home from a 3-week vacation. She comes back to Washington and she dumps a 1,400-page bill that's like, yeah, no, this is the relief bill that I want to pass. And it's going to contain like carbon offsets for airlines, and it's going to contain same-day voter registration and ballot harvesting, and it's also going to contain provisions that any company, any corporation that receives coronavirus funding will have to put X number of dollars into diversity and inclusion initiatives over the next 5 years after they receive that money, right? So it was just like, yeah, no, let's just like use this, and then she held up the freaking passage of that bill for like 4 or 5 days by essentially stamping her feet and saying, give us our leftist freaking Green New Deal as part of this bill, or we're not going to give the American people any kind of freaking relief. Right? And I'm looking at who's politicizing this virus and who's not. And I'm like, really?
Well, like I said, my concern is that now that we have something that's deadly in the mix, that the rancor will only get worse. And like I don't politically, I don't take a side except that of the human race and continuance of the human race. So,
well, I
that's-
take a side. I liked the Republican bill. I liked the Republican bill because it was everything they did, because it was a coronavirus relief bill. Everything they did had to do with the coronavirus.
Mhm.
Okay, and then the Democrats come in and they're like, oh yeah, no, we want like we want $35 million for the Kennedy Center for the freaking performing arts, because it's Nancy Pelosi's favorite opera house, right? And
yeah, no, you have no argument with me. That's ridiculous.
like and we also want to make it so that felons.
Didn't they also put? Yeah, they want to let the prisoners out. Yeah, that they can vote. But didn't they also add something like where they added a bunch of what is it, diversity hires to various like positions? Yeah, like you had to have this many women and this many people of color and all this.
Yeah, on your board of directors. If you're gonna coronavirus bailout, yeah, no, you're gonna have to like have 50% women and people of color on your board of directors within 5 years, right? And it's
I guess we would qualify.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. But I'm just like, I'm blown away. But and that you literally had AOC, right, having a tantrum. She was literally flailing and stamping, right?
I remember. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
She was like one of those inflatable tube men that you see on like used car sales lots, wearing like a pantsuit. Yeah.
Yeah, and she was saying, it was the biggest bailout for multinational corporation. Like, no, it was literally sending money to individuals, sending money to small businesses on the condition, right? Okay, so essentially, if you owned a small business, right, and you had 50 staff, right? If you went to a bank, you could get a low interest loan to cover up to $80,000 per staff member that you employed, okay? And your rent and your utilities and your insurance and all of your necessary expenses for your business, okay? And if you kept your staff on the payroll instead of laying them off, if you just sent them home and said, take a furlough, we're going to pay you as if you were working. If you did that, the loan would become a grant.
Yeah.
It would
Yeah.
be free money for small bit. Like, this is literally what the bill was setting up. And she's like, it's a bailout for trillion-dollar corporations.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, the airline industry is a trillion-dollar corporation, probably, right? Or a trillion-dollar industry, right? But it's not because the airlines fucked up that they're, and you fly everywhere, you stupid cunt. You don't take the train. You fly
Oh my goodness. Okay, well
from
I didn't really want to.
Brooklyn to Washington D.C. You fly every time, and you're like, oh, because like it saves me 2 hours, right?
In
Yeah.
case you guys didn't know, Canada or Karen really doesn't like the DNC, which
Oh my.
it's understandable because they're a
Oh,
little bit.
they're complete cunts right now, right? And I'm sorry, but like, I didn't have a problem with the John F. Kennedy version of DNC. I didn't have a problem even with the, through the 80s and even the 90s. Not that big a deal. Not that they weren't crazy, but they're fucking crazy now. They've literally launched an investigation, another congressional investigation into President Trump to determine whether he acted or chose to not act about the coronavirus out of malfeasance.
Ugh.
Yeah, they're going to try and
Anyway.
impeach him over this.
Well, and my overall point about the politics is that people will put politics ahead of constructing a solution to the coming years. I think is going to be very interesting, and we're going to have to think outside the box to manage it because we're going to be dealing with something that's completely unprecedented in human history, and that
Sure,
is
and the House Majority
stopping.
Whip, I forget what his name is, right? But he's the House Majority Whip for the Democrats. He says the coronavirus gives us an opportunity to restructure government according to our vision.
Well, my point is that we are facing an unprecedented crisis, and that is stopping the economy almost completely. And then we're going to have to restart it. And I can tell you right now, the human race does not understand it, does not understand the engine that drives society to a
Well,
sufficient degree to stop it and then restart it again.
I can tell you one thing though, right? Okay, because the last really big crash that we had was in 2008 with the housing bubble, right? And that was due to financial mismanagement. It was actually due to flaws within the economy, within the economic system, right? It was, I mean, like, it's the difference between saying, oh, the airlines mismanaged their businesses and now they're asking for bailouts. No, the airlines are suffering from no fault of their own, right? And so they're being given, some money to keep them afloat, right? Okay, so 1929, 2008, right? All of those were actual flaws within the economic system, right? But when you actually look at the major crises, right, that occurred that essentially crippled entire countries, right? So World War One, and then on the heels of that, the Spanish flu pandemic, right? What followed from that? The
Actually,
Roaring Twenties.
the stock market didn't decline during the Spanish flu, or in the apparent decline in the stock market as a result of the beginning of World War One was due to a change in how they measured it in 1916.
Well,
So
and then you look at after World War II, right? What happened? The baby boomer generation, right? And an unprecedented uh, several decades of economic growth, right? With
but
the burgeoning middle class and all of that, right?
here's the
So I
issue
mean,
with what's going on now. The problems with the economy didn't start with COVID-19. They were already, as I've said, I think a couple times, they were already injecting liquidity. They were already practicing quantitative easing under the assumption that the economy was not actually healthy. That's what you do when you believe that the economy isn't healthy. And they started it in September. So the measures to try to bolster a failing economy started well before this crisis. So I mean, if we were going into this crisis with a truly booming economy that the people had confidence in, and if they had confidence in, they wouldn't be practicing quantitative easing, they wouldn't be reducing the interest rates, they'd be increasing them so they can pay down their debt. But that's not what they did. They demonstrated a lack of confidence in the economy by reducing interest rates to bolster up the circulation of currency. And that was occurring before this crisis. So we were dealing with an economy that was failing even before this crisis. Now, this crisis is going to compound that problem. And the problem really is that our economy is not productive. It's not eliciting enough productivity. The issue isn't the amount of cash in circulation. The issue is that we are not productive enough, and we're flagging in our productivity. What we need to do is address that. It doesn't matter what you use to create productivity. At the end of the day, it's productivity that ultimately underpins the strength of an economy. If consumers have nothing to consume, they're not going to be buying anything. So I would say
well,
that,
and
and
that's I think that's China's uh, grand strategy.
well,
In terms of their own economy, is to essentially say, lazy Westerners, we're going to engage in predatory practices.
well, be that as it may, it was successful.
Yeah,
Um, I
yeah,
I
because we're all
remember
lazy.
I remember a while back, Janice Fiamengo tweeted something about a friend of her. I think he was an economics professor, and I did ask her if there was any way I could get in contact with him to talk to him. He said that we haven't truly been productive since the 80s. The West hasn't truly been productive since the 80s.
Yeah, no, we've been resting on our laurels. When you look at it, the number of up to 30 years old who still live with their parents and do the
Hmm.
bare minimum is that's massively increased. Like
And we're fixated on currency as some sort of magic voodoo that will make things become productive, and
oh
that's
god,
not
it's
the
so
case.
stupid. No, it's all currency is an agreement.
Well, it
And
can be considered.
once the agreement part,
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. So if they're going to solve the crisis by just injecting more currency, they're not actually solving the underlying issue, which is how to get the levels of productivity back up to where they
well, they
were
were
in
starting, right?
50s,
And that
60s, 70s, and 80s.
but
Well,
that's the
no,
they were in the United States, they were starting. They had record low unemployment rates. They had record high employment rates for, all the minority groups and white men. So, you're sort of looking at a situation where, things were actually on the upswing, and and Trump was bringing back manufacturing. He was gradually bringing back manufacturing from China. And that's another thing that you could ask me to get into when
no,
later on in the
fair enough.
show.
But here's the thing. Um, Regardless of what appeared to be occurring, you don't practice, you don't do quantitative easing, you don't reduce interest rates when you truly believe the economy is booming. That's when you pay down your debt, and that wasn't happening. So the process of of uh of of sustaining a strong economy wasn't occurring. And so that the essentially spending was just continuing instead of saving and reducing debt. So I would say that the underlying problem wasn't addressed. If it had been, then they wouldn't have reacted in such a way to present an insecurity, in a sense of insecurity in the economy,
Mhm.
that they had to artificially bolster it. And so, in my opinion, I think that we still need to address the issue of productivity, young men's productivity. That is the
Yes.
most critical issue to address. And again, we had that problem. We had flagging productivity. A lot of those unemployment numbers don't include the chronically unemployed, the people who have stopped looking for work.
Mhm.
And those are huge numbers of those in the 18 to like 35 range for young men,
Mhm.
whose productivity was not being engaged. So we didn't have a society that was giving them a narrative or giving them the support that they needed to be super productive. And that hasn't been the case since like the 80s. And this is going to have a delirious effect on our economy because we aren't seeing the levels of productivity. It doesn't matter what medium of exchange you use. You can use
Buttons
vibing.
and a
You can use
smile.
you could use I don't know, string. It doesn't freaking matter. What matters is the productivity that is there to support it, to
Yeah.
support the exchange, and it's not there with our economy. That may have been that Trump was bringing it back by bringing manufacturing jobs back, but productivity isn't just represented in manufacturing, it's also in innovation. And we weren't seeing that. And I think that's probably what led to the lack of faith in the economy. But anyway, this is a problem that I think going forward is something that a big thing that we're going to have to face. And like I said, it's an unprecedented crisis because now, on top of an economy that was failing in terms of its productivity, we have now ceased it. We already were dealing with an economy that was having a problem with productivity or developing productivity in young men, but it was still reliant on the consumption of young women. See what I'm saying? To
Mhm.
move it. Now that's gone.
Yeah.
So we are going to have to, going forward, we're going to have to figure out how to solve a problem that I don't think that we've ever truly faced, which is how to restart an economy when we really don't understand how it works. And I don't want to underestimate the depths of that. But on the other hand, human beings are they have incredible ingenuity. When their back is up against the wall, that's when they fight hardest. So we may see some very interesting times and some very interesting solutions. I would not discount the innovativeness of human beings when they need to be. But I think we're pretty close to calling it. I think we
Okay.
had a good discussion. Do we want to go through any more of the we talked about the deaths that have been undercounted. We've talked about the deaths that have been overcounted. I had two other ones. A staggering surge of New Yorkers dying in their homes
Yeah.
suggests city is undercounting. And then I had another analysis, which wasn't by a mainstream media outlet, but just by, I believe, a statistician on Medium, that showed that the COVID 19 virus, when you catch it, it's like you have your entire mortality for a year condensed into a couple weeks. So if you have a 5% chance of dying in that year, then you have a 5% chance of dying in the couple weeks in which you have the COVID-19 virus, which is a really interesting analysis, but I don't think a discussion will do it justice. So I'll just ask Brian to link it in the low bar.
Okay.
And I'm going to see if there's anybody who would like to come on to talk about this. Um,
Yeah. I
Let
kind
me
of
uh,
wanted to.
let me do the
I
super
kind of.
chats really quick.
sure.
And then we
I.
only got
I.
four.
Okay.
Okay.
I kind of wanted to do my timeline of how all of this actually went Pete Tong. So
Okay.
Do you want to do that maybe another time, like
yeah,
on another?
sure.
Yeah, because it sounds like something that could be its own entire discussion.
Oh yeah, no, it's long and it's absolutely fucking reprehensible.
Yeah, I can imagine, and everybody loves to just sit around going, "I can't believe it."
Well, okay, so
No, don't get into it though.
No,
We'll get
I'll
into
give
it
a
next time.
teaser. I'll give
Okay,
a teaser.
Give a teaser. That's fine.
Okay,
Tease.
a teaser.
Tease.
Between mid-January and the end of February, not only did China, the producer of half of the world's surgical masks, stop exporting masks, but they quietly acquired, according to the Sydney Morning Herald, just from Sydney alone, through a former military officer of the Chinese military officer who had ties to organized crime in Australia, he alone shipped 35,000 PPEs, 200,000 pairs of surgical
PPEs?
gloves, personal protective equipment. So
Okay.
masks, gowns, face shields, right? 200,000 pairs of gloves, and more than 10 tons of medical grade disinfectant from Australia, from Sydney, Australia, in early February. There were other people in other parts of Australia who were shipping that stuff to China. Okay. There were other Chinese nationals in Brazil and the UK and the US and Canada who were all shipping vital medical supplies and equipment back to China from mid-January to the end of February. Okay? While China stopped exporting because they're the main manufacturers of all of this shit, stopped exporting it. Okay.
Wow.
And now they're going to Australia and saying, hey, we have a whole bunch of PPE and gloves and disinfectant that we could sell you at cut rate prices if you commit to using Huawei 5G communications technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they're doing. So
Yep.
they cleaned out the fucking stockpiles of all of these freaking other countries, and now they're coming back and saying, "Hey, we got all this surplus. You can have it. Just sign on the dotted line, and Huawei's your freaking 5G provider."
Wow. Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
that's a teaser.
Well, speaking of China, let's look at some dogs and cats, some cute
Wait,
cute
I got
animals.
super chats. I got super
Oh yeah,
chats.
super chat.
All right, the Great Indoors gives us €2. This was like shortly after we started, and writes, "Just bring out a law that makes it illegal to die." I'm not sure what I don't know what that was
Perfect.
in reference to, but it's pretty funny. Brendan
My
Rex.
my uncle Powell in Denmark, when he heard about the draconian anti-smoking measures in Canada, said, "Next thing you know, they'll make it illegal to die."
Yeah. Brendan Rex gives us $2 Canadian and just puts what appear to be cat faces. Cyberzerk gives us 50 Coronas and writes kiss emoji, heart emoji, heart emoji, heart emoji, heart emoji, heart emoji, and then writes love for the love minister. Thank you, Cyberzerk. Sir Karen thanks you as well. Great Indoors. Go ahead.
I'm sure she
No.
thanks you for referring to her as the love minister.
It just means that Karen gets to decide what love looks like. That's
What
that's
have
all
I
that is.
done?
The Great Indoor is
The consequences have
1979.
become clear.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Consequences and repercussions will never be the same. The Great Indoors 1979 gives us €5 and says the 2008 crisis never ended. We're now on the other end of the financial tornado. All right, that's all the super chats. So,
all right, thank you guys. Now let's look at some kitties, puppers, and snacks. We could probably go to that room and share it. I think it's pretty safe, like generally.
I'll just go over there and grab some.
Yeah, or
gifts or something.
you just share that room. Share. Oh my god, that's adorable. Oh my god. Okay.
Share the room. All right, give me a
Yeah,
second.
just share the room. Do. Well, Karen's gotten quiet. Guess she must be off doing something else now.
No, I'm not off doing something else. I was actually I had to mute myself so I could call up the actual live stream since we're going to look at puppies and kittens.
Oh yeah. Well, you could also go to the channel.
Yeah, that's what I had to do. I had to channel to be able to see it because we can't share our screens in this room.
Also, I have a couple videos I could stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, here, why don't you just pick up my stream because I've already done it. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know, this is
gotta go now. Change.
this is
Setup.
this is my cat. Whenever Brian is done,
Give me a second
was-
to fix it. Hold on.
yeah. Let me just explain what I'm going to be showing. So this is my
That's a pregnant cat.
What? Where?
On the screen, the smugness, it is thick. Is that a pregnant cat?
Are you looking at what I'm looking at?
I'm
one?
looking at the actual stream as it's streaming.
I'm trying to catch up to what Allison is showing. Go back to sharing what you were sharing before, Allison. Back to sharing your video.
I am sharing it. I'm sharing it. Oh, I see. Okay, so we're is it ready?
You're currently sharing Discord. Yes, it's ready.
Okay, all right. So this is my kitchen. As you can see on the floor.
I don't know what that is.
That was that if you see that, that's toothpicks.
Oh, okay.
So I had a container of toothpicks, and of course he does what cats do, which is particularly onerous when you have a container of toothpicks. Because then you have to pick them up, you see.
He knocked them over?
Yes, he did.
Well, my husband ate a bag of spokes last night. Spokes are a puffed potato product. So they just essentially they mash some cooked potatoes and then they puff them in an oven and form them into the shape of pretzels. And then they put salt on them, and they're the blandest thing ever. But you know, they won't kill him. And so there was an empty bag of spokes, and there was some salt on the inside of the bag, and it was sitting on the little end table by the couch. And my idiot Kevin got up this morning and ripped it into tiny little pieces. Just ripped
Not
it into
dog, just idiot.
Yeah, my idiot. Yeah. Okay. Okay. She's not an idiot. That's the problem. Okay. There's 4 kinds of dog, right? There's the smart, good dog, absolutely excellent dog, smart and good, right? The dumb, good dog. He's a moron, but he's well intentioned and he doesn't get into trouble, right? Because he's good, right? Then there's the bad dumb dog. Okay, the bad dumb dog is like the dog that would really like to get into trouble, but he's too dumb to actually figure out how to do it. Okay, and then there's the smart bad dog. That is Kevin. She is the smart bad dog. That is the worst dog that you can have. That is my dog.
Okay, I'm going to raise you one. This is Mojo. He is a cat with thumbs. Specifically, he's a Siamese with thumbs. His
Those are called dew claws.
Yeah, no, those are not dew claws. He's got extra fingers, Karen. Those are like thumbs. Although they're not opposable, but although he seems to be able to use them quite efficiently. But he is smart. He's very sociable. And he's also diabolical. And I think he's basically the evidence that God is dead, because only the devil would give cats little gremlin hands. All right.
Agreed. Yeah. No, your cat is an affront to God, and a violation of nature. That's like my little dog, right, Borat? he's tiny. He's very lovable. He's like, can you be my friend and pet me and snuggle? Because I can't even maintain my own body temperature on my own. Right? Okay. He's literally an affront to God. He has no right to exist, and yet he does. And he's adorable.
Yes,
I can't
and
feed myself, but other animals would eat me. Magpies. If there were 3 of them, I would die, and they'd pick me clean.
all right. So here we have another cat. Well, there's a lot of cats in the kitties, puppers, and snack room. The patron part of the Discord, and this is
There's some cat bias in that room. I'm gonna
yeah. There's some
go out and
serious
say it.
Cat bias.
There's some
Well,
cat,
it's
some
probably
cat
because
bias.
cats' shenanigans are just so like horrifyingly pointless. Like maybe dogs are like that too. I don't know a lot about dogs, but it's just like you have a cat and then the cat does something and it's just like what is with this mendaciousness?
No. You're missing. All of cat shenanigans have a point, right? And the point is to punish you, right? And the point is pure malice, okay? The
Blatant disregard for your needs.
dogs don't seem to have a point to their actions because they're just doing their own thing, right? When they're not snuggling you, they're just doing their own thing. They're like, the neighbor's dogs are barking, we need to bark along with it. Oh, there's fire trucks going by, that must be a bunch of coyotes chasing a herd of caribou, I need to howl along with them, right? I want to go out there and do that, right? That's what they're thinking. They're like everything that a dog is thinking, like pure benevolence, right? You just don't want to see that your cat's shenanigans, right? You see them as, oh, I just can't spot a pattern. No, it's because you don't want to understand that your cat is a subhuman freaking demon sent to torture you. You don't want to see it, so you're like, oh, I'm just gonna really avoid connecting the dots here, right? And actually spotting the malice involved.
Aw, oh, here's a dog playing volleyball.
Oh yeah, there it goes. Boop.
Ooh, look at that. Oh goodness. Yeah, you get that. Ooh.
Yeah,
not really good. Not really good ball control there, dog.
He just wants to participate. That worked.
I can see that. Well, but having the 2 women on one side and the dog and the man on the other, that's probably
balances it out. It's called a handicap.
I was actually thinking that the women are more handicapped, but
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, so that the women have a chance.
Yeah, the women have a chance. The man is playing with the dog. Okay, all right. That's good. That's good. That's cute. All right. Russian chickens violate quarantine. All right. Let's take a look at this. What are these Russian chickens doing?
Chickens.
Yeah, chickens do what they want to. Oh my god, wait, they're listening. Oh my god, they actually listen to him.
Well, they're Russian chickens. They know what happens if they don't.
All right, so what's this? Oh, this is a pupper. Look at that. Isn't he cute? He looks like a dumpling. That's it?
Well, I don't know. Is there more to it? No, there's another pupper back there.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess it's just cute little puppers in a cell of some kind, which is a little bit
Looks like
depressing.
a shelter.
Yeah.
It might be a shelter. Or
yeah.
What do you call it?
A kennel.
A kennel, right.
Yes. Okay, this is
a
one
doggy
of our
daycare.
Patrons' cats. He's pretty cute. And oops, just stalked someone.
I'm watching all of this about like a minute after you guys are talking about it. So
well, why don't you just go in the oh here's something funny. I thought this was cute. The Stanislav Zach Pertacular. Last month, my cat disappeared. A week ago, I found him and brought him home. Today, my cat came back. Now I have 2 identical cats.
The cat came back the very next day.
And there was
The
another
cat
one
came
of them,
back.
and we don't know why.
We thought it was a goner, but the cat came back.
Just couldn't stay away. Aw, there's so many cute cats. Oh my goodness. What's this one?
Those cats are just normal cats.
Oh, this
They're not-
this cat is calling. This He's making a phone call. That's what's happening.
Cat on FaceTime.
His cat on FaceTime. Oh my god, they're not cute on FaceTime. I can see what you're saying about celebrities. If celebrities are doing FaceTime now, Brian,
Yeah.
or recording on their phones, Jesus, that's not a flattering angle for you, cat.
Oh,
Aw, here's an ocelot. And here's a pooch doing something. I guess it's a pupper, just being a puppy.
you know, I need to actually film my dogs playing, because Borat is always like super pumped to play. He's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I really want to play with Kevin." And Kevin is like 5 times his size, right? Okay, and then she just starts gnawing on his head because his head fits in her mouth. And she just starts, and I'm surprised she hasn't punctured one of his eyeballs at this point, right? Because she just starts gnawing on his head, and then he's like, "Okay, this is like an adequate substitute for actual affection," right? And I just want to film them doing that and then put it to the music. "I'm here to tell people about my best friend." Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Right? Because it's like, I don't like Borat. He's like chronically well intentioned, and Kevin is just like, "Yeah, no, I will fucking rip your spine out." But I could do that, but instead I'll just gnaw on your head for a while and maybe chew on
Karen,
your back legs.
if you want to see this while I'm presenting it, all you have to do is click on my name in the chat, and then you can join my stream.
Oh,
Yeah, because right now I'm sharing the video of the coolest cat in the world.
okay.
Probably
Join
having-
It's a cool
stream.
cat.
Probably
It's
having a
cool-
panic attack.
Who's having a panic attack?
Like, that cat, like, he may appear to be cool because he's wearing sunglasses, but in his mind, he's probably saying, "What the fuck is happening to the world? Why is everything so dark?
Maybe.
I'm confused and
Oh.
afraid."
Okay, here's some snacks, because people usually don't like the snacks. Oh,
Is that
those are like,
asparagus? Oh no, snakes.
yeah, it's asparagus with eyes.
Asparagus. Is that pesto in
That's
your
what it
eggs?
looks. No, but
Is
that's
that
what it looks like.
pesto in your eggs?
No, like, yeah, no, but my husband, my ex-husband, grew up in a house that used to be an asparagus farm. It was planted, like the house was built on this property, and they had asparagus growing up in their front lawn, and that's what it kind of looked like.
Yeah, they're asparaguses with eyes, otherwise
Yeah.
known as garter snakes. All right. Or apparently they go into a burrow for their form of hibernation, and then they come out and they turn into some gigantic orgy snake ball. Okay, moving on. The Oreo cat. What's this? I haven't seen this one.
Idea.
Oh no, it's just I think it's just this this right here. This moment where the one cat rolls the other cat.
Mm-hmm.
Very adorable. Perhaps only to cat owners, though. Oh, look,
Yeah, no.
it's Business Cat
Oh my god.
here to
That-
do a hostile takeover of your business.
That's so lame.
Oh my goodness, this is a very sick rabbit, Karen.
It's a giant snail.
No, it's a sick rabbit. It's got some kind of
No, this reminds me of
skin
Nick
disease.
Redding. Nick Redding, when he was walking around, one killed cat that had been lying in the sun, freaking desiccating for like 8 hours, right? He
As
just
Nick
picked
would.
it. Yeah, he picked it up, and then he went to random people and said, "Is there a veterinary clinic nearby? I think my cat is sick." Like the thing had its like intestines were like dangling out, right? And it was clearly freaking dead. And he's just like, "Can you help me? Is there a vet clinic? I think my cat is sick."
Mm,
Yeah, no, that's what Nick
that's
Redding's like.
horrifying.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, this one's sort of cool. Who knew that kingfishers had gimbals in their heads or their necks? Look at that. Look at that shit. Like that's just fucking black magic right there. Look at how it just keeps its head still
Yeah, no, that's like
while its
the
body is
that's
oscillating.
like the bird equivalent of the black woman's head freaking thing.
Yeah.
The angry black woman. Oh no,
Okay,
you didn't.
here's a pooch for those that love pooches. There you go. Just sort of lying there, so I'm not gonna
Just
Chill,
be
look
on it.
chill,
sad.
pooches, chill.
Yeah,
No,
chill.
I
Oh,
wouldn't. Don't blame hounds. They look sad, but they're not. They just look that way.
look, it's 3 cat peas in a pod. That's adorable. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. Oh, pressed cat. Anyone need some pressed cat? I think he's pressed in between two. Oh my god, he's pressed in like in
He's
between
just
2 panes
lying.
of glass.
No, he's just lying on top of one.
Yo, no, you're right. He is lying on top of a, but I think it's from the ceiling. This is very interesting. Like some sort of
No, it's a
cat texture
shelf.
print.
It's a shelf up near the ceiling, and he's lying on it, and from underneath.
Well,
He's not
why
being
the
pressed from on
expressions?
top.
Why the expression of
No,
existential
he doesn't.
horror?
He doesn't have an expression. He just has a cat face.
No, it's an expression of existential horror. So that's where I'm getting the press between 2 panes of glass from. It's deceptive. Okay. This is just more cats, more cats.
Oh my god, what the fuck is with cats? You got like there are too many cat lovers.
I told
Okay,
you
but look
there's
at
some
these
bias
ones.
in here.
There's
Yeah.
there's I don't know what they are, but they're cute. Oh, here we go.
Leopards? No.
This is a corgi. There
Huh.
you go. Boop the pooch snoot. Oh, look at that. The littlest NHS worker.
Oh,
It's like a-
great. That's so dumb. It's so like I'm sorry.
It's a
Like
kitten dressed up like a nurse. What's wrong with that?
oh my god, it's
You
like
you
the
have no love in
littlest-
your heart.
the
I'm
littlest
reconsidering making you
hero.
the minister
Yeah,
of
no,
love.
this dog. No, go. Yeah, that dog. He's like
Licking
yeah,
the head on that cat.
Yeah, I like this cat.
And the cat's going,
And-
what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, but the dog is like, yeah, I love
Having a concern.
this cat's
The cat
pretty
is having a
cool.
concern.
And then the
That's-
Well,
cat
his-
is like,
This dog has just made his entire face moist. I mean, can you
Yeah.
imagine?
You
You're
just
just
want
like
it's
1
always
second you have a dry face, and then the next second there's a warm, wet saliva
it's just a handshake with his tongue.
spot right on your
Yep.
face.
that's dogs are well intentioned. Look at and this is what Borat does with Kevin, right? Because Kevin will be sitting at the window and the trucks will be going by, and she'll start to try and howl, right? She'll be like, "Oh," and then Borat jumps up and licks the inside of her mouth, and then she stops howling, and then she's like, "No," and then she like the fire trucks are still going, and she's like, "Oh," and he licks the inside of her mouth, and she's like, can't I howl in peace?
Eh, that sounds a little bit. Oh, here we go. Here's a pupper that's ready for quarantine,
What is
or
happening?
possibly also snowboarding.
Outdoor
What
pupper.
happened?
No, I'm just trying
Yeah.
to figure out what's going on there. It looks like there's a cast on his face. He's like
No,
in
it's a mask.
witness protection
It's
program or
an
something.
N95.
Oh yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
Oh, this is a TikTok. People ask me how I wake up my deaf and blind pupper. I slightly blow on her, and she gets a little startled until she feels me. Aww.
Oh,
Then she wants all the love. Aww.
deaf and blind. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's hard. That's
Yeah.
harsh, man. But she still has purpose.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
this is one of our patrons, cats. Oh, when you're playing D&D and your cat steps onto the battle mat. So it's a picture of a drawing of a giant cat in a D&D setting. All right, and I'm gonna skip the birds because it's just weird. Birds are fucking weird.
Yeah,
More
nobody
birds.
likes them.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure we
Well,
have burb lovers in the
yes, we do.
chat and in
Oh,
our
the only
Discord.
birds that are worth a dime, raptors.
Oh, is that a delete this dog? Go back up, the one with the gun. Yeah. I'm gonna ask
There
that you
might
delete
be.
this.
Oh, okay. Somebody put googly eyes on their hawk's mask. That's just. Did you ask the hawk to consent to that indignity? I don't think so. Oh, crow skating down a roof. Nah, I'm
No,
not
dude,
feeling the burps.
play it,
Okay,
play it.
all right. Yeah, I'll play it.
Because crows are smart.
Oh my
Yes.
god, he's sliding down on a piece of ice. That's interesting. Was that? Oh, it is deliberate. Look at that. Oh no, it's
Yeah,
actually like a donut.
he's taking his toboggan back to the top of the hill, and he's gonna do it again. Yeah.
Wow. They're pretty smart.
They're really smart. Crows are really smart.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
He's like, I'm gonna put it
Today
down.
I
I'm gonna
learned.
get on it again, and then I'm gonna. Yeah. No,
Woo!
it's like super
Slide
fun.
down.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, I saw something interesting. Me and Jonathan were going out on the snowmobile once, and I saw these two crows over top the tree line, and they were just dive bombing each other they're flying parallel to us, and then just doing this sort of weaving dive bombing for miles and miles and miles. I'm like looking at this and wondering, wow, what the heck are they doing? Are they playing a game? Yeah, I think they're playing a game. Guess crows play games. Who knew?
Oh no, like literally, if you live in a small town, right, where the crows are just basically they're resident crows, right? And they don't move and they don't go anywhere. They stay where they are, right? If you actually hurt or kill a crow and other crows witness it, they will literally teach 3 to 4 generations of offspring to hate you.
Wow. Actually, that makes sense. One of our big cats, Pook, killed a baby blue jay, which blue jays are related to crows.
Yeah.
They never forgot.
Yeah, no,
It's been
they
like
don't.
15 years, and they're still like, yeah, we fucking hate you.
We hate you. We
Yeah.
hate you.
And we will never forget.
We're going to harass you every time you come out of the house. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we can end here. We got the
Okay.
puppy tornado.
Oh, the puppies.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
it's
puppies
like-
they're doing a little circular. They're eating and
You ever
also going left for some reason.
You ever see a puppy go to eat its food and stand up on its front legs with its back legs totally off the ground?
No, I have never seen that.
You've never seen that? Let me see if I can find one.
These puppies are clearly in the northern hemisphere, because if they're in the southern hemisphere, they'd be rotating the other way.
Yeah. Okay, well,
okay, let me just send you.
Okay, so
it's fucking hilarious. It's fucking hilarious. I'm just gonna drop it in the.
Oh, somebody's in the recording room. Interesting. No, I think they're just hanging out.
Oh my god. Oh wait, I can't. Oh, where do I say? Okay, fucking what?
Oh, this is no. Don't go into the other room, Karen. Just stay here. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Okay. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Oh yeah, getting in there.
Why would you put your back legs up like that while you're eating?
They just do it. They're just like, yeah, no, I'm really into this food.
And it's just the small dogs, eh?
my dog Kevin, she doesn't do it when she's eating. She does it at other times. She does
Ooh.
somersaults. So
Oh, right, face plant right into the food.
yeah.
So this is like 2 minutes long. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's fine. You don't need to watch.
I like this other one. It's like just logging out in a food coma. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So shall we take it out?
Yeah.
Although the
almost-
puppers are adorable. Yeah,
almost 3 o'clock, so I got
it's
a
almost 3
show
o'clock,
in like
yeah.
2 hours.
So Brian has to do his ablutions and food intake and other things to get ready for the show.
You mean his ablutions?
Ablutions, yeah.
Yes. And I need to take the turkey out of the oven and then get it ready.
Yeah, and I need to start working on my next video because I actually want to have a scripted video out by the end of April. So yeah, so thank you guys for joining.
Jojo.
If you enjoy this content, consider getting a subscription.
Sorry, I'll mute. Jojo.
Okay. Consider getting a subscription and coming into the patron-only Discord where you can enjoy hanging out with other patrons, and I'm there quite often. I also do game streams, and we have game events and community events every day. So if you want to do that, that's feedthebadger.com. It supports the show. It makes sure we can continue to have content on YouTube because YouTube, well, to be quite frank, I never really relied on YouTube for a main source of income because I figured it was, well, first of all, we couldn't because we were one of the first channels to start getting demonetized. But also we never really had the ad revenue for whatever reason that other channels did. But so if you want to support us and make sure we can still be on YouTube creating this content, feedthebadger.com. If you want to support Karen, the best way to do it is to go to her channel and choose Tip Karen. I think it's a link on her main channel. And yeah, I want to thank you all for joining. I want to thank all of our patrons for making this possible. Very generous, and for sticking by us through these incredibly unnerving times. And thank you for listening. Good night or good afternoon.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll go with good afternoon. See you next time.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.